minute here. Just give everybody a chance to come in. We'll wait just a minute.
Did you just turn it on?
Oh, new one? New ones.
Yeah. We had them last time, we just didn't use them.
Oh, okay. Then I just need to stop
Yeah.
do that. To my left.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a new bussy class. Darn it. Getting so good.
After 14 years.
All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Prairie Hill Community Consolidated School District number 133. This is a regular meeting, February 26, 5:30 p.m. here at Willowbrook Middle School. Everybody could, let's see. And I also state, for the record, we do have a quorum present.
Roll call, Mrs. Allenbacher?
Here.
Mr. Hendricks?
Here?
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Keller?
Here.
Mrs. Dixon? Here. Mrs. Zabel?
Here.
Mr. Crouch?
Here. If everybody can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Where'd we move? Okay. Mixing me up. Picture of habit, sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Had to make room for
It's like, what do I do? Okay, I don't see that we have anybody signed up to speak, is that correct? Okay. All right, so we can jump right to Pride of Prairie Hill Spelling Bee, top 3.
Ms. Thompson, you wanna give a little intro for us by chance?
Sure. I'll talk about it a little bit in my admin report, but on our latest Bleed Blue Day, we had a whole school assembly. Bridge was our spelling bee. Having taught here, it's always been like one of my favorite events, but I also think it's really cool to see the students. So what happens is, every grade level gives students written spelling tests in which they take the top chunk of 10, and then we have them do an additional spelling performance, I should say, to narrow down to the top 4 in each grade level, and then we take the top 4 from each grade level and we put them in a whole school spelling bee. So there's about 16, give or take 16 kids that go up and go through a series of words, and so we had, we actually invited our top 3 here tonight. Only one could make it, which Israel Ortega was top 3, Leo Volk was top 3, and then Juba Fasalosho was top 3. And just to kind of tell you how that went, usually in the spelling bee that we've had here, and Lori could probably attest to this, it comes down to 2 spellers, and they go back and forth and battle for a while, and then eventually one speller will spell something incorrect. And in order for the winner in the spelling bee to win, they not only have to spell the word, one word correct, they have to spell an additional word correct. This spelling bee was unique in the sense that when it was the top 3, the students that I mentioned, Leo, Israel, and Juba, Leo and Israel both missed the word, and then Juba got it right. So in that situation, she just got to get an additional word and spelled it right and ended up winning. So it went from 3 to 1, which was really cool because it's kind of a unique situation, but she earned it. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Juba, but your final 2 words were skiff and totem. Is that correct? Okay. So she won, I believe, on totem was the word, which interestingly enough, they are also words from Touching Spirit Bear, which is a novel that they are reading in literature class at the same time. So Juba is our first place winner. She's gonna go on to the next level, and that will be at Harlem here in May, and decide where she goes from there. So congratulations.
Juba, if you can come up, we're gonna present you with a certificate from
Sure.
Pride of Prairie Hill.
I got it.
Great.
Here
picture, Dad? I can take one of you too.
It's okay.
You wanna take one with family? I can have you guys. Oh.
Or actually, why don't you name that? Why don't you name yours and I'll say this one?
Whatever you wanna do, Dad. I miss you for you.
Okay.
Alright. 1, 2, 3. Very nice.
And then 1, 2, 3. All right.
Great, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Juba, do you remember the date off the top of your head of your next competition? March 19th. 19th, right? Okay. Very nice.
Yes,
So-
you're welcome to leave. You
With
can
that-
have it. Everything we're gonna go over is probably not gonna be very exciting. so.
Thank you. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's what I was just saying.
Congratulations.
You guys have a great night. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for coming. Congratulations, Juba.
Thank you. How come we only do those every other year? How come we can't do those every other?
We do it every year. We do it every year.
The spelling bee?
Mhm.
Audrey told me it was every other year.
There might have been some years that it was wonky, like coming back into like the
Oh,
COVID and
COVID.
things, but it was, and I know, we were actually debating as a team the other day if we did it last year or not, because we couldn't remember, but previously it has been an every single year thing. We also used to do a geography bee. Unfortunately, the geography bee like program is not offered the same anymore, so we're trying to find something to supplement and bring that back in. It's kind of a cool way to see, and highlight some different strengths of kids that we don't normally get to see out in the public eye as much, so, yeah. But it should be every year. It will be from here on out if we missed a year.
All right, consent agenda. I'm going to entertain a motion for the approval of consent agenda, approval of January regular meeting minutes, January committee meeting minutes, February bills totaling $280,052.84, February payroll at $239,874.97, February's treasury report, and student activity fund. Also, to ratify the approval of September 2024 committee meeting minutes, ratifying the approval of September 2024 regular meeting minutes, October 2024 bills, October 2024 payroll, October 2024 treasurer's report, and student activity fund.
Now so moved.
I'll second. Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabel?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Carter, administrative reports.
Well, I apologize again for missing last board meeting, but it's good to see all of you. If I haven't seen you, Happy New Year again. Just a personal wash hands, just keep the hands washed and everybody stay healthy, we'll be good. We just wrapped up pre-K and kindergarten screening at the end of the month and beginning of February. I just wanted to thank our pre-K and preschool teachers for executing that during the day, and furthermore having subs that came in to cover for those teachers. That couldn't have been done without the help of Mrs. Passmore really working well in advance for that to happen, and it did go very well. Our lottery took place in the morning on February 15th. The link didn't work, so I wanted to appreciate everybody's patience. It started about 35 minutes late. We were scrambling to get a new one out to make sure everybody made it on time, but we did manage to do that. Everybody that was on the link that was on at the lottery was able to receive a spot. So now we have a short waiting list going. Conferences and book fair going now. Pleased with the pick a time process. It's a steady stream of parents coming in. Just after a couple days of sales, our book fair is also going on. We're already over $3,000 in sales at the elementary school. Because of conference night, PSA does provide some food, and families have donated, so we want to thank the PSA and the families for providing the meals, sides, and desserts again. We're going to be doubling up our assemblies. February kind of moved really quickly, so we were working on caring in February. That assembly will be on this coming Tuesday, which is March 3rd, 4th. So my periodical will not come out at the end of this week. It'll come out mid next week. And then we'll be working on trustworthiness, and that assembly will be right before spring break. The 5 Essential Survey is open, so if you received an email from me We do need parent input. That is actually part of our school report card, is parents giving us the feedback, as well as teachers and 4th grade students. So if you haven't had a chance, it takes about 5 minutes. Please fill it out for both school. If you have children at both schools, please do it twice. One for PHS and one for the middle school.
Can I jump in for a quick second?
Uh-huh.
I had several parents, this probably just because this is my first year having a student here at Willowbrook. When you sign into the survey, it says select the grade for your youngest child. So I know lots of people who are in 5th grade families who took it for Prairie Hill and thought that they were done and didn't realize they needed to take it again for Willowbrook too. So I feel like a clarifying email.
I'm gonna put that also, I'll put that in the newsletter. My newsletter should be coming out on Wednesday the 5th. And I have a paragraph in there, so I'll clarify that.
Yeah, I think it would affect Willowbrook more though, because if they're selecting their youngest kids, if it's at both buildings, then they think that they don't.
So
have to
select
go.
the youngest kid per building.
That, well,
Yeah.
just when you log in, it has pre-K through 8th grade listed, and it
Gotcha.
says select your youngest kid. So if they're like, oh, I already filled one out,
Gotcha.
they might be missing Willowbrook's one. Just heads up.
That's good to know. Thank you for that.
I'll
Kind
send
of
something out.
adding to that, is there a reason that, is it like a state requirement that it's just one per household? The
Yeah.
youngest? And not like, and no offense for those of you that have multiple children, but, I would have loved to have done it twice, because one of the questions was regarding teacher communication, and
Yeah.
it's very different for one of my girls than the
Yeah.
other. So I just went with the youngest, but
I
I
had
didn't know if that was
parents,
our
so we set up
choice or-
computers, I set up computers at conferences so parents could do it. I had actually parents, 2 separate parents do it for the building, like both mom or dad was there. So that might be an option too, if you had another
Okay.
person.
I don't know if it was a state thing or our thing.
It's a
I'm
state
sorry.
thing.
Okay.
It's done through the University of Chicago. We are in the middle of IAR preparations. We've set the, date.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Susie. One of the bunnies.
Oh,
Just got
okay.
a little excited.
IAR is actually opening up officially next week, but we do not take it until after spring break, so our test will be April 3rd, which is the Thursday after break. This is at PHS. Willowbrook will have their own schedule, but PHS will be the 3rd, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the week after that, with wrapping up on the Monday after that. So 1-3-1 tests. I had mentioned in the past, just to finish up, that I have a scheduling and safety committee starting. Scheduling has started, safety committee is meeting next month to update our protocols, as well as having conversations that we are maximizing all of our student support staff. So, getting ready for next year. Thank you all.
Alright.
As some of you may or may not know, our trimester is coming to an end tomorrow, so that completes the 2nd trimester of the year. And something that we've talked a lot about, and we've put into motion this year are our Bleed Blue Days, which serve kind of dual purposes. They focus on our work habits that are also on student report cards, so perseverance, responsibility, respect. They minimize the number of days that we have to have altered schedules because we plan for all speakers and assemblies and things to happen on those days as well. And in addition, it gives some teachers, a lot of our, actually, I should say most teachers, actually extra work time, a little bit of extra work time so they can focus on getting grades finalized or finishing up reassessments if they need to meet with kids who are absent and being able to get those grades in prior to the end of the trimester. So we had our most recent Bleed Blue Day on last Thursday. This one was on perseverance, so that completes the 3rd work habit that we have here at Willowbrook. Our next one that will be coming up in May, we use as a mental health awareness day. So that's what the theme around that one will be. This time, we did have our spelling bee, as I mentioned earlier, when we recognized Juba. We also took time to shout out to our girls basketball teams as they were completing their seasons. Varsity ended up this year in 7th place. It was a really challenging year for them. Those girls fought really, really hard, and you would never guess that they had a challenging season because when you watch them play, they put everything on the court like all the way up into the last minute, and they really, really fought very hard for that. So our JV girls, definitely, we have a very talented JV group. A lot of 6th graders on that team. They ended up finishing 2nd place. They just had their championship game last night in Freeport, actually, but it was against Rockford Christian, which is always funny. But they ended up losing that game 25-21. to 34. Rockford Christian won that one, so our JV girls were second, but they're gonna be a lot of fun to watch over the years as they develop and grow, cause they got a lot of spunk and a lot of fight and a lot of, talent there. So with that, we also had our assembly that recognized girls basketball and also the spring clubs that we have, but we, in the afternoon, had UW Whitewater's wheelchair basketball team come and do an assembly for the kids, you know, based on our theme being perseverance. So we got to have, I would say probably between 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 students and probably 10 to 15 staff members participate in like mini games. So they had 3 individuals from the team come. They explained the differences in the wheelchairs that they use from a daily basis to the wheelchairs that they use during the games. They showed how they use them in the game as well as in real life. They talked a little bit about how their injuries each happened. The coach of the team, that was an interesting one, that was relatable because he said he, I believe, was 16 years old when he got hit by a bike, or hit by a car on a bike, which is what changed his kind of trajectory in life and which ended up putting him in a wheelchair. So it was good for our kids to kind of see and put into realization that sometimes things dramatically change and you have to work through that, and it's not always going to be easy, but you can make the best of it. So we had, the kids were funny, I mean, they were great about it, and the team members were like, your kids are actually really talented, like they're doing really well at this. So they were, the funny part to watch, I felt like, is a lot of people couldn't figure out how to like get the oomph of the shot because you have legs, right? So like your legs are gone because you're sitting in a chair, but we had several students participate, several staff participate. It was a lot of fun to watch, and it was a really, I felt like, meaningful assembly for the kids. It's not like the UW team talked a lot, but it was impactful in the sense that people got to try it and kids got to see their friends and peers trying it, and it was just something different to kind of recognize that everybody has different challenges, and sometimes you need to be grateful for what you have, and sometimes you have to work through what you didn't want to have, but it's a really good experience, so.
I have to say, I came in at 2:25-ish to drop off food for the conferences, and I came in the office and Miss Kurska was dying laughing. What is so funny? She's like, come back here and look. She shows me the big TV screen, and there's Clint in a wheelchair trying to roll down the court and throw the ball, and it was quite comical. And I heard you could hear down the hallway all the kids in the gymnasium laughing.
Crazy, like the talent
So
that they
it's
have.
much harder than others.
Yeah, because like one of the guys was like shooting like half court.
Yeah.
And then Luigi up there like, and he was just sinking up and weaving up there, couldn't even like, they'd just be like, air ball. Like Chuck Leonard was doing the score and kind of making commentary along the way. Doug played. Susie, I don't think you got up.
No, I had
you
a
and I were
meeting.
in a meeting
Yeah.
at one point, yeah.
They
So that
said
was
the guy that started it won, I think, 4 or 5 gold medals in the Olympics.
Yep, there
Like,
was,
it
he did mention, I thought it was.
There's a documentary on them too.
I thought
Yeah,
it was
there's
3
a
gold
documentary
medals.
on them. Really interesting.
And so they were great. They're like, give us any feedback. We'd love to hear, more of what you want from us, and we'd love to come back. They talked a little bit about where they play, so we could go watch them. I talked to a teacher actually that night, that I used to work with at Stephen Mack, and he mentioned that he went to college at UW Whitewater, and one of like PE classes that they took, they played them. Like that was one of the things that they got to do was play, and he's like, they're really crazy talented. So, that was a lot of fun just to see people kind of out of their element in different ways there, but they were a great group. As Craig mentioned, we also have conferences going on. Typically in the middle school, we see spring conferences fall up a little bit, but I would say that just looking at last Thursday, like we had a lot, many of our teachers, upwards towards 13, 14 appointments in their 15 appointment slots, so they were still heavily attended. As you can see, our book fair is still happening as well. Shout out to PSA, they always feed us well, there's always a lot of food. I think even coming back this week, people were like, oh, is it Thursday again? Because on Monday they pulled out everything and everybody was able to eat lunch again, which was nice. So our Willowbrook's IAR testing dates are coming up in April, so we will do that the week of April 9th, so that will be after spring break. We also here have to test our 5th and 8th graders on the Illinois Science Assessment, so that will be the week of April 21st. And I have continually communicated those out to families just so they can kind of mark their calendars because it's easy when everybody is here. But that's it right now. As you can see, our greenery is growing. I would talk about this thing in the corner, but it's Doug's baby that he is producing. You wanna share a little bit about that, Doug?
Sure. Well, and Mr. Sizik found some grant funding for us. So this was something that Julie, the head of our food services, had and seen online and was interested in. And she had talked to me in the past about how would we pay for it, because it's quite a bit of money. But Clint was able to come through and find an awesome grant for that. So yeah, it's an indoor hydroponic system. So our goal will be for this really oriented towards the school lunches, like how much lettuce or other things for like the salad bar we can grow. And of course, like throughout the whole year. So the permaculture club will kind of take the lead on like growing everything and having the kids involved that way, but it'll be fun. You know, the garden's kind of for the club and for the community, but this is really geared towards our lunch program here, so, yeah.
And these seedlings that you started, are those gonna go to the garden or are those gonna go in here?
Those are for more the garden and our plant sale in May.
Mhm.
So we haven't, that just came this week, so I just kinda got it thrown together, and it doesn't use soil, so the base is where the water sits and there's a pump in there. Water pumps up, and then there's a solution in there, the nutrient solution you have to add to it. So that's how they get their nutrients and that kind of thing. So it's, yeah, there's no soil. So we'll start seeds back here in a similar way, but it's rock wool, it's called. It's kind of this spongy material.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Eventually, Doug, we'll just have a greenhouse right off, we'll extend the library right
I
over
was
here.
thinking,
Right over here?
future,
It's
maybe,
your vision, Jim.
we were thinking that you could make like French doors in this classroom.
Oh, yeah.
Make a sunroom.
Actually, it's a
Oh,
really great
yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
French door.
A little greenhouse?
Love
like
that.
sunroom
Slash
greenhouse?
greenhouse.
Yeah.
Love that.
I'm sure that'll discuss it.
I love it.
We'll get
Look
that.
for another grant.
Maybe a skylight, my no window
That'd be a
room,
big
same.
Yeah. Right? We could be a place for all of the people who are lacking vitamin D in the winter to
Yes.
just go and soak up some of that. Great idea, great vision.
All right.
That's it?
Clint?
Yeah, most of the discussion that I had was at the committee of the whole, but I do have two things. Just wanted to give you an update on the tax assessment complaints that we had a couple months ago. We get a couple every year. We had 7 this year though, which was quite a bit. We've gotten 4 back and they're all upheld. Usually they side with the individuals or the companies, so that's good news for us, tax dollars wise. And I'm waiting to hear back on 3 others, so just an update there. And then just a quick question about the cow. Are we still wanting to do, because we had to, obviously because of the storm, we had to move it to the next week. Are we still wanting to do the 2 weeks before, and does the Wednesday at 5:30 still work great? Because if that's the case, that'll be next Wednesday at 5:30, so I just wanna make sure that we're good with that before I throw it on this calendar. Cause it's a short one, cause it's March 19th because of spring break. Yes.
That was my question. I would like to keep it the 2 weeks prior, but do we wanna meet next week, like, right after this, or, I don't know, cause then it's,
That's why I'm asking. It's a little different, obviously.
I mean, it's just March.
So the alternative would be the 12th,
The
which would
12th.
be 1 week before the
Right,
board
and then the
meeting.
19th, yep,
Okay.
so.
Is there any preference you have for things that you need to do in between?
No. I mean, the 2 weeks is nice. Obviously, we only had just over a week this time. When we get into the routine of the 2 weeks though, that will be nice if anybody has any
Yeah.
questions or follow-up that
Sure.
me or the principals need to take care of, but no, we're still learning, we're still going, so I'm good with whatever.
My only thing, if we do it next week, would be, part of my work before is to build out a framework to discuss strategic plan.
Oh, yes.
So, I looked at the folders that you put in, and I don't know if they're too old, but none of them will open for me.
Oh.
They say like the preview's not available anymore, I
Okay.
can't download it.
Let me look.
So, I would just need those uploaded
Yeah.
sooner than later, so I have time to build that out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we're keeping it with the 5th?
Either day is fine with me, I don't have a preference.
Either one.
So it's the 5th and the 12th.
I'm fine with either. This, I think this probably leans more to you. If you've gotta build the framework, is it easier for you to do the 12th? If
I mean, it
everybody's kind
would
of.
be easier for the 12th than for me.
Let's do that.
Yes.
Let's do
Gives
the
me
12th.
time
Everybody's
to
agreeable
build
to
that
either
out.
date. Let's give stuff an additional week to prep.
You do that.
Okay.
And then we'll have the regular board meeting on the 19th. Perfect.
But after that, it's gonna be always the 2 weeks
2
prior.
weeks before, yeah.
It
Wednesday
also
at
gives
5:30.
us 2 negotiations
Yep.
prior to that, to where we can update and provide more information.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll send a link out, thank you.
Okay, subcommittee reports. So just so the public is aware, we have a different format. We are doing what's called a committee of the whole, so rather than have separate committees, hold separate meetings to discuss building and finance, education, transportation, and policy, we are now meeting as an entire board and going through each of these disciplines as a group, so that we're all better versed into each of the committees. So we have the COW, the Committee of the Whole, and we had our first COW meeting last week on that. So at Building and Finance, we reviewed the bills for February, and we discussed wellness survey funding for staff requests. Education, Jason, anything else on that we need to add?
That was good, that was it.
Okay, education, transportation. So just so you understand also before I move on here, board meetings will be a bit more business-like. They will be just kind of reporting information. If you're interested in knowing more about the specific committees and what we review, you're welcome to attend the committee of the whole, just as you are welcome to attend the board meeting. Education, transportation, reviewed Pride of Prairie Hill, PHS and WMS awards, and what students we were in. We reviewed the Golden Apple grant winners, strategic plan review, and then curriculum review. Steph, you took a look at the other districts and determined what curriculum review of the board could look like. Anything else on education, transportation that you want to add?
Just a question, have you looped Kim in on that at all, Clint? About the curriculum review tool?
Kim Andrews?
Yes.
No, but I'm meeting with her tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Just so I don't have to be lightheaded. What? Like see it in the notes tonight. And then be like, what am I doing?
Policy, we had a press review, final reading for 2.5, 2.100, 6.40, 6 subparagraph 65, 6 subparagraph 210, and 6 subparagraph 270.
And then we did, we went into our typical section review, so section 3 and section 8, and discussed if there were any 5-year reviews that needed to be done, if there was any policy that we were in compliance or out of compliance, so we went through kind of the whole list and discussed, like what, when visitors are on property, for example, like do they have badges? So we had all of that, and then the work that we have left to do is to, create that OMA sheet for the table.
Okay. And miscellaneous talking points.
Speak of the double. It's Kim Andrews.
Lori had passed around a pamphlet from Sandy regarding the lab for board members to attend. We also had discussion on our waste management contract, which I think we're still waiting for some information on that and what our other options are. We're gonna get some additional pricing on that. There's a Rock Energy bill increase at Willowbrook that we're reviewing. That's probably about all we need to review from Cal. Anything else from either, any of the committees that you wanna cover? Okay. I will entertain a recommendation to approve policies 2, subparagraph 50, 2, subparagraph 100, 6, subparagraph 40, 6, subparagraph 65, 6, subparagraph 210, and 6, subparagraph 270.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. LaBelle?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Okay. We also have 4 positions to vote on tonight. Those positions are full-time ESL, full-time lab teacher, full-time special education teacher, and a full-time special education co-teacher. Are there any questions or anything that anybody needs to discuss before we go into voting on that? I will entertain a motion to approve full-time lab teacher position.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Mrs. LaBelle?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve a full-time ESL teacher position.
I'll make a motion to approve full-time ESL teacher position.
I'll second.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Abel?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yep.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve a full-time special education teacher position.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Abel?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve a full-time special education co-teacher.
So moved.
I'll
make a
second.
motion.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Abel?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Okay, we'll also be voting on a book club for Willowbrook. Any questions or any further discussion needed on that?
I'm assuming there's no cost for it.
It's for students, it's once, they would meet once a month.
It's
Mrs.
like a club
Vanek would do it.
advisor,
Yeah.
It's a
right?
club
Yep.
advisor,
Just
so
the
I
advisor,
believe
yeah.
it's $450 for the first year.
Okay.
And then you revisit if it's something that goes into Schedule B at that time.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve book club at Willowbrook.
I'll make a motion to approve the book club at Willowbrook.
I'll second.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Abel?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Do you have a record of the FOIA request we got? What the content was?
Okay, so our FOIA request was a copy of any emails or memos in the last 12 months that contain the following keywords: Lucy Calkins and units of study.
Okay. So we had a FOIA request from the Rockford Sun, but that is the content.
Where's the Rockford Sun?
The newspaper?
Great question.
I never heard of it before.
I get a FOIA request at least once a month from them.
Is it a
It's like an
newspaper?
online
I think it's
newspaper.
an
Oh,
online
okay.
publication.
Never heard.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and negotiations.
Motion to go into closed?
I'll second.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Abel?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Okay, we are in closed session at 6:02 PM. We're coming out of open
No.
session at 6:02 PM.
We're going into.
Going in close.
Well, yeah.
Well, the open is over.